Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
From the Fifth Quarter Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, you are listening to High School Hoops with our hosts, Steve Collins and Jake Steger.
All right, welcome to High School Hoops, episode 62. Hopefully there's no snow on the ground where you are. If you're in upper Michigan or upper Minnesota, there might be. But before we talk about the snow that's coming, winter's coming, I'm going to give a big shout out to our two sponsors. First of all, Dr. Dish, the #1 shooting machine. I mean, first of all, I like it because it's so easy to break down. It's so easy to use. I don't use the app enough. I definitely need to use the app more. I don't use it enough. But so that's the first thing. Second thing is teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Last week I talked about sending my kid off to college. Maybe you could help me buy a lunch for him. So go join teachhoops.com so my son can eat. There we go. How about that? All right, this is episode 62. What do we got for 62, Coach? That means we've been doing this over a year. Wow.
Wow. We're doing a good job. We keep moving forward.
Keep moving, chugging.
Skill development. I mean, skill development is a huge topic, but how do you incorporate skill development in a regular season practice in regards to your high school practice?
That's a great, so first of all, we only have them realistically. So everybody around the country is different, but let's use Wisconsin, middle of November to beginning of March, end of February is where regular season would end. So that's the stretch. That's the only time we can have contact unless we're in that open window in the summer. So we have so let's go November, December, January, February, 3.5, 4 months. I would love if we had contact and we're able to work on skill development longer, but we don't. I think it's an important part. I think you got to pick the skills that are important to work on. One that I've tried to get better at is shooting throughout the season. We've talked about this. I look back to some of my teams, and it's like, oh my God, I don't even know if we ever took a shot. Like, you know what I mean? It was all like working on press, all the other stuff. So that is one place that I've really tried to work on skill development is shooting. Because I'm convinced now, especially through my son, that if you take off too long, you lose it. You can even be a good shooter and you lose it. It's kind of like a golf swing or someone hitting a curveball. You'll lose it if you don't use it. So that's the first thing. So I think that's a skill development that needs work. One that we're building into our program is screening. I think it's an underutilized skill. They don't know how to do it properly. They don't know how to set it up. They don't know how to set it. They don't know how to do that. So that's another skill development. The problem is, I don't know about you, Coach, but you got this hour and 45 minutes. How much of that piece of that pie can you use in skill development? I would say about a third is where I've landed now. I wish it was more. And it depends on how you buckle skill development into one specific thing. So it might be closer to a half if you look at our small-sided games and things like that. But so what do you think? I mean, I think it's important. I would love to do an hour of skill.
I think it's really about the level that you coach in high school.
Ooh, that's true.
are both of us being varsity coaches and having to mentor and work with coaches that are below us, I think it's really important that skill development is more of a necessity for them. And we don't look at always wins and losses, but we look about progression instead of perfection.
Yeah.
And so we look at little gaps where we can make that group better so they can come to us at that highest level to make us a better program. I think often we can't treat every practice as a varsity basketball practice at the younger levels in the high school.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think I think you're right about that in the sense that it should almost be the higher up, the less you're doing specific skill sets. Like the Bucks aren't
Absolutely.
working at so I think that's true. That when we're down in the
That's
eighth,
how actually the USA basketball model is. If you've ever taken the US basketball development class, and I've taken it for like younger grades to teach coaches,
right.
is that it goes like a huge pendulum of, real world game like, and it should continue to move up higher percentages as the kids get older. And the goal is that by the time they get to the highest level of high school, your percentage is about 25 to 30% skill development and 70% game-based or small-sided or other things in relationship to, the game.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I mean, what does USA basketball say about skill development? Totally.
It should be. I think that it's really something that they want younger kids to be doing at an earlier age, and developing that.
Okay.
And so
it's more like the European model. More like the European model. Yeah.
Yes. As regards to skill development, I think shooting is something that you always got to make time in practice, for sure. I think, ball handling, but I'm talking about balance, just the simple fact of handling pressure. I think handling pressure
physical, and again, I'm talking about the highest level at the high school level, but I'm just talking about the physicality of ball handling too.
Yes.
I'm not just talking. I mean, my guys can handle the rock. It's more like, what are you doing when you're getting fouled and bumped and all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
So, and I think another thing is like not always doing everything in isolation. You got to be able to be creative and do multiple skills at one time.
Yep.
So whether it's being strong with the basketball, ripping through ball handling into finishing, boom, shooting into conditioning, this and that. Like you just can't be doing static drills at the high school level. You got to be doing more. You got to get more out of it.
You don't have time. I mean, I know that's the big thing with everybody's talking about all these small. I've been doing that for 30 years. I just never knew what it was called because, I can't just work. I don't have time. I don't have time to just do a passing drill. I don't have time to do
or form shooting into
I've never done that. In 30 years, I've never done that. So I don't know. This isn't like nuclear physics that they're telling you to do. I've always had 3 or 4 components in everything that I've done. You had to, or you won't get stuff done.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like as a teacher, we don't just teach one skill in isolation.
Right.
As they get older. They're doing multiple things at one time, from doing algebra to a story problem to this or that. That's just how the game is. It becomes more complicated. So another thing, too, is with skill development, try to pick a couple drills that you know and you want to use and get them good at it so you don't have to spend time teaching it. So you can get the minute right out of it, boom, boom, boom,
Yep. And that goes back to the tryout thing too. I always like throwing a couple of complicated things early in the first week or so, just to see how they adjust to it. Tryouts is a good time to do that, but it's also like once you've picked your team, it's like which kids are going to think on their feet and which ones aren't. Here's a new drill, boom, 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 go do it. And then some of them are. I always like to see who's going to be able to maybe. Hopefully, at the end of a game, we've diagrammed everything up, but they're going to be able to quickly. How quick can they process the basketball part of it, I think, is important.
Yeah, but I think also if you can layer it within what you're already doing within your system, it's huge too.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite drills I used to do is just perfect passing where the guys can grind for a minute or so to get 25 passes complete. Why can't you do that by running your offense too? Can you do that by running your offense and make 25 successful passes? Can you use those things to build that? Can you do finishing drills within the context of your offense from a screen into something else? Can you constantly build in what your system is doing and do your skill development around that? I think you totally can. If you're going to be a flare shooting team, and doing flare screens, you can do tons of flare screening shooting drills all the time and build on your shooting, also perfecting your craft within your offense.
Right. I agree. All right. Anything else? I mean, you got to find space for it.
Right, but I also think it becomes down to strategic planning. You just got to go look back again and again. We always talk about the why. Why are we doing this? Be strategic about it. Take the extra time and make sure everything that you're doing within your skill development, your offense and your defense, those first several weeks, it's meaningful. Because then you can spend less time teaching that and get more out of it.
Right. If
you go for an hour and 40 minutes instead of 2 hours because you spent 20 minutes trying to teach them something. They already know what they're doing in an hour and 40 minutes. An hour and 40 minutes solid, you're done, and your rapport is good, and you get out of the gym some days.
Right.
That's good for your team.
Yeah, and if you don't run, if your offense doesn't have any dribbling in it, don't spend time working on your ball handling. Like,
Yes.
It's like if you're running dribble drive, then you better work on some of those movements. I think that's a big part too. Yeah, I agree, Coach. All right, what's the question of the week?
So when you first became a coach, what is the first big win for you as a coach? What was your first big win?
It was like the first. It was either the first or second game. It was a holiday tournament at Memorial, and it was Chad Nelson. I'll never forget. Hit a big shot. I don't have it on tape because something happened. I don't know, but he hit a big shot to win it. I think we were 7-14. It's my only losing season as a head coach, but I remember that game because it was like, holy crud, we better have stuff down the. I mean, it was a close game, back and forth, and we ended up winning it. Not because of me. I had nothing to do with it. It's like the ball bounced in the right spot, in the right, it'd be nice to first game is a win, last game's a win. That's my goal. Because if your last game's a win, it's a good season. I think that one, and then I would say season 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 when we beat Janesville Craig, which was a perennial Division I powerhouse in our state for 15, 20 years when I was growing up. And I always told Coach Suter, I said, I knew my program was turning the corner when I beat you. So those would be the two big ones that I vividly remember as a young coach. What about you?
Oh, it was my first year coaching at the varsity level. I think we were like 5-18. It was a very, very difficult start. We started 0-7 within the season. We had some kids suspended for a drinking party. We had kids with injury. One of my best players broke his kneecap. It was a long, long season. So we were the 12th seed, and one of our neighboring towns, which is Campbellsport, was the 5 seed. We went out to Campbellsport, and it was just a game where it was the playoffs, and everything clicked at the right point. We're down by 9 within the third quarter. We still had quarters, and one of my seniors just got hot, and I just ran a motion offense and just kept setting screens, kept making shots. And we got the ball with 5 seconds left. I called a timeout, and I set a play that I used to run when I was a middle school basketball coach, and they fouled him in the free throw. He made off 3 free throws, and we won the playoff game. And that was my first big signature win that I'll never forget. Because I think that community had not won a playoff game in like over 5 or 6 years.
And then what happened?
We were a 12 seed, and they were a 5 seed. That was huge.
And then what happened? So the 5 seed ended up playing. You were 12. Who'd you play the next round then?
Columbus. We got pummeled. So, but you know what? That kind of gave me some momentum for a little bit more success as I moved on coaching varsity for another 5-6 years, and then moving on to collegiately. But that was just a win I'll never forget. It was very special to me.
Isn't it? I tell the boys too. I said I remember high school wins. Like you, those things are ingrained. They're like. It's not traumatic, but there's an imprint. Like you just that feeling, you can just feel it in your body right now. I know.
It's like crazy. A human connection with the game. This kid has never been a good free throw shooter. I had him screen and he got fouled. And I mean, what kind of most likely referee never calls a shooting foul at the end of the game? They fouled him a 3-pointer and he makes all 3 of them and wins the game.
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
He'll remember that the rest of his life.
I got that on and I still got that game. I still use that play, and I call it. His last name is Van Cray. I call the play Van Cray after him. I still to that day call it Van Cray, just because Seth was able to make that shot. I never forget that.
I know that's awesome.
This is why we do what we do, Coach. Right?
Right. It is.
That's why we do it.
It's an adrenaline. It's a drug. People are listening to this. It's a drug. It's the adrenaline drug is what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Till next week, Coach.
Great game. All right, Coach. Thank you.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.